Hey everyone, welcome back. I am the Electrical Code Coach, and this is the Estimating Masterclass, episode 6, where we're going to do an overview of how to look at commercial projects when estimating them. Commercial can be very diverse and very difficult at times to estimate, and there's very little room for margin of error because you can't sit down like at the coffee table with a customer in a residential setting and say, "Hey, I made a mistake." In commercial, you don't always have that opportunity. So we want to be really accurate on our commercial estimates and make sure to write things in our estimates that are provisions to help us out if we do run into trouble or if we do get into bind. But it's a lot harder to negotiate in commercial after the fact. So let's get it the first time. This is going to be kind of a 30,000 feet overview of this topic because we could make a 6-week series on it, but hopefully today you'll get the couple pieces that you need to take you to the next level. Let's get to it. First, let's start with the formula for a commercial. Then we're going to go through an actual set of plans. And the number one thing that you want to do on commercial, as long as you have plans to go by, is to study every single circuit from one end to the other, from start to finish. This is super important, and this is where a lot of people make big mistakes on commercial estimates, because if you forget that you have to also, after you run that circuit, hook that piece of equipment up or hang that light, you might forget a lot of time. So I want you to write down everything to do with that circuit, from breaker, disconnect, conduit, wire, fittings, start to finish, and we're going to draw it out and make a list. Then we need to look at how long that will physically take to install that circuit. And then we need to pan out from 30,000 feet on each individual circuit and then also on the whole project. And I'll explain more what I mean about that as we go through this video today. First thing I'm going to do is bust out the plans, and we're going to take a look at the 4 major components of a set of plans, and then I'm going to show you how to take each individual circuit, write it down, and make sure that you don't miss anything. Taking a look at this set of plans here, this is a commercial project that I wired back in Tennessee. The panel is up here in the top right hand. This is the panel room. In this room alone, I'm going to have emergency lighting, regular lighting, a switch here at the door, and then we have all the panel work, of course. Coming through this project, I have lighting circuit A, and then I have 2 bathrooms that we wired, and I have some 3- and 4-way switching. So let's take one circuit as an example. Let's imagine that we're wiring circuit A for these lights. I'm going to start at the switches. First, I have to bring power to the switch. So let's imagine we route from here up and over. We bring our power, and that's the first part of our circuit. Over here on the right-hand side on my notes that I'm taking, I'm going to be writing down breaker, wire, straps, and everything that it takes to do this circuit, switches, lighting, so on and so forth. And I'm going to mark it one piece at a time. So the first part of this circuit is from here to there. If I took out my ruler, I could measure on this set of plans, and I could estimate how much MC or EMT or whatever conduit or raceway that I'm using, I could measure it and see how many pieces that I need. So I'm going to write down sticks of conduit, the fittings that go in between. And this is just for one piece of this circuit. So I want to give you an idea of how to look at this, but this is how much, if you really want high quality estimates, this is what you really need to do. I start here at the panel. I'm going to pipe up and over. I come over here, and let's imagine that I've found out that it's 4 sticks of EMT. So I'm going to write down 4 sticks. Then I need to count my couplings in between. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 couplings. Then I have to come here and do a male connector on this side and a male connector on this side. Then I need to terminate at a 4 square box. That 4 square box is going to need an extension ring or plaster ring, and then or a regular RS cover depending on how the finish is. Then I am going to think about the wire that goes there. Now this is just on the feed, so I'm going to have a hot, a neutral, and a ground. So just in this one short run, I've got my conduit, my straps, my fittings, my boxes, my plaster rings, or whatever we're going to be using. Then also I have to think about, and let's just talk about this one piece of the circuit, and then you can use this same template across this whole project. Now let's imagine I've listed all the material on the right. Now I need to start thinking about labor. Well, I'm going to come up out of the top of the panel. I need to calculate my time for coming into the panel. I come up, I pipe over, Am I on a ladder? Am I on a lift? How high are the ceilings? These are all things that I want to be thinking about as far as my timing goes. Let's imagine that I calculate it would take an hour to run this pipe up and over here and stub down. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to start my, you're going to have an each individual piece calculation, but then you need to have your, overarching calculation for the whole project. So up here on this individual piece, running from the panel to switch 1, I say I'm going to have 1 hour, and then I'm going to start tallying up all my hours, and then up at the top of the page, I might have my total hours, and I put a 1 up there as well. Now let's leave that circuit, and we're going to need to, you can think about it however you want. You can think about piping to the other switch leg first, and then there's another 3-way down here. You can think about following just the route that they've kind of mapped out here. All right, I'm going to pop up, I'm going to stub over. Maybe I'm going to run me some EMT down through here with some 4 square boxes and do 6-foot whips to each one of these lights. Maybe set a 4 square box in between. So I might go a 4 square box here, 4 square box there, 4 square box there, 4 square box there. And I will whip to each light, or every other one is all you would need to do. 1 here, 1 there, 1 over here, and just make me up some whips. From there, I can calculate all my 4 square boxes. I can calculate my blank covers. I can calculate my MC whips and how much I'm going to need. The wire to go in between the boxes, ground screws, straps. I mean, you can get down to the finest detail on your material because you want to make sure you deliver, for one, a super competitive estimate, but an estimate that you can make money and not have to worry about it when you go home. So this is just kind of an overview of how I think about it. I draw it one circuit at a time, one piece at a time, and then I can, for circuit A, I can say, hey, here's all my material, all my time, all my straps, all my conduit, everything that I need to run all the lighting, and then I'm going to group that ultimately with the entire estimate. Now let's take a look at the panel schedule and give you some tips on it. For this same project, I have my panel schedule. Circuit A is going to be right here on number 1. So that lighting circuit we were looking at is right here on number 1, circuit number 1. So I know that it's a 20 amp circuit. In my estimating, when I'm calculating my breaker, I'm going to write that down. I need a 20 amp bolt in for this. I'm going to have 12 gauge wire. It's calling out 12 gauge wire. I calculate all my time and I look through it. There's a lot that we can learn right here from the panel schedule. We're looking down here. We can see that it's 3-phase, 4-wire, 208. That's going to let me know about my service as I'm doing my estimate. They want 600 amp mains with a 600 amp main breaker, which I can calculate all the size conduit, wire, grounding electrode conductors, grounding electrodes, how we're going to tie this whole thing together. I have my total load, and then I can start looking at all of my loads. I have lights and heaters and exhaust fans and fans. And from your panel schedule, you could really, come up with a lot of the information that you need to quote your job, all your breakers. And what you'll find, if you'll send a picture like this to your power company, or your people that you buy your parts from, you'll find that they can actually build you a panel directly from this panel schedule. And they will take a look at it and they'll make sure you got all your breakers. They'll make sure you got your breakers already installed from the factory in the right spots. They can do a lot of work for you that you don't have to do just from this one picture. And the same thing for you. You can really do a lot of your estimate work right here from this one picture. But let's stay focused on circuit A and continue our estimate. The next place we're going to head is our lighting fixture schedule. This is going to help us not only maybe gather some extra materials that we need for our estimate, but it's definitely going to help us calculate our labor costs. Let's go to the A lights. These are 2x4 LED flat panels. That'll let me know that, and if, of course I have to also reconcile with my plans that I'm going to be laying these in a drop ceiling. Very easy to install, very quick. Maybe can do, one every 20 minutes or maybe even less, depending on if you've got maybe somebody there helping you get things out of the box and staying cleaned up. Anytime you hear me talk about estimates for labor, I'm talking complete labor, not just hanging the fixture itself. And that's where a lot of people get off. You have to calculate in all the time it takes to take them out of the box, all the time it takes to get set up and get ready, then also to clean up. A proper job is not complete unless that job is cleaned up. So make sure you're factoring in all of those things for your laborers and your electricians. Let me make this statement. If you are constantly estimating projects and your employees are taking longer than you've estimated, then you're missing something. You're not seeing the whole picture. It takes more time than just the physical install of the light to get these lights installed. So I'm going to look at these. I take this. Let's say we're going to calculate 30 minutes per light just to make sure that we're covered. We could go through and go back to our plans now and count 30 minutes per light. There's one more piece that we need to look at on these plans before we put all these 4 pieces together, and I'll show you how to tie it together. The final piece of this puzzle is just going to be the overall electrical legend. Now, this is where we're going to get what our symbols mean. Never assume you know what a symbol means on a set of plans. I was looking at a set of plans recently, and it used a regular receptacle symbol, but if it was turned a certain direction on the set of plans, it meant that it was GFCI. So just watch out. Never assume that you know what a symbol means, especially if you're the one quoting the project. In this case, I'm definitely going to want to look at what the S3 and S4s mean. Usually they mean 3 and 4-way switches, but I just want to make sure. Then I'll look over all these symbols and make sure that there's nothing extra important that I want to look out for. Extra or important that I want to look out for. In this case, it shows the A lights, the LED outlight. It says insert this type, so that lets me know that I was on par with it. I also went to the lighting schedule to match to make sure that it did. Now we can go look at the big picture of this whole thing. And when you're looking at a set of plans, you likely will be able to look at it all at once or arrange it so you can look at them all together, which is what we're going to do now. Now let's take a look at all 4 at the same time. To start any circuit when it comes to an estimate, I'm going to pick one. Let's start with this A circuit for lighting. I'm going to draw it all out. I'm going to make a detailed list over on the side of breakers, fittings, boxes, wire, disconnects, all of those different things. And I'm going to mark check marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, slash, and put a 5 through it, right? And that's how you make 5. And I'm going to go through this entire circuit, hours of labor, individual pieces, and then I'm going to pile that all together, and that's how I'm going to come up with the estimate just for this one piece. Then I need to do that for every single piece of this estimate. And the biggest thing that I want you to watch out for on this is do not forget your panel work or hooking up the devices. I was working with one of the code coachers recently on an estimate that they were coming up with. It was this very large commercial kitchen, $40,000, $50,000 job. And looking at the plans, he came up with all the estimates. I said, well, did you calculate any time for hooking up all this equipment? And he had forgotten to calculate for all the equipment. Now, if it's one piece of equipment, that may not be very much. But if it was 16 to 20 hours of labor that you just weren't thinking about, you drew it all out, you went from the panel, you went up and over, you piped down to your disconnect, but somebody's got to hook that whip up to that piece of equipment. So just that's why you draw the entire circuit from breaker all the way to the utilization equipment functioning, and that way you'll never miss a beat. In this case, we're taking these A lights. First thing I'm going to do is find out where they are. I'm going to go down here to my electrical legend and look at the symbol. Then I'm going to come over here to my lighting fixture schedule and check out what an A is so I can start having this all in mind. Then I'm going to take a pen or something and I'm going to draw this out piece by piece, writing it all out, writing it all down. I'm going to come out of the panel. Don't forget your panel work. A lot of people forget their panel work. You could have a day in a panel. You're building a big old piece of switchgear or something, you could have a day there working the circuits in, landing all the grounds, landing all the neutrals, bolting in all the breakers if they weren't already bolted in for you. Don't forget that time. It's super important time. And it's time that a lot of electricians will charge more for doing the panel work. Like those 8 hours, they're going to charge double time or whatever they normally do. Now, looking at the way to charge for this, I keep saying adding up hours, but I want you to add up time and ultimately convert this over to your day rate, right? That's the minimum that we can charge. So let's say we're just doing the lights in this building. Forget everything else on this set of plans. I'm going to come in and let's imagine that I've calculated $1,500 in material and I've calculated $3,500 in labor. So we're up to $5,000 to run these lights, install them, trim them out, whole 9 yards. And that sounds good on paper, but now I need to look at the intrinsic value of this job. And this is what I call panning out to 30,000 feet on a project. Stand up and look at it and say, what is this project worth? Market value, day rate, reconcile it with my day rate. What is the fair price for this job? And this is when you start understanding how to put the brick and mortar together when it comes to estimates. That yes, you've calculated it all up, you've done a great job on material, you've multiplied it by your day rate, you got a nice number. But let's say your day rate, you came up with 3,500. But maybe, let's say maybe this is easy, a $6,000 labor job, or maybe a $7,500 labor job, or maybe you're too high and you need to recalculate or see where you can shave some off. But the one thing you got to make sure that you're doing is standing out and looking at these projects. And the same scenario that I was telling you about with my buddy a moment ago, he came up with the number of in the 35s, but he had forgotten some labor like we talked about, and he ended up landing in the 44 to 47 range. I don't remember what the exact numbers were. He got the job. He ended up getting the job. But we looked at that 35, and I'm thinking, this is a full-blown restaurant, full-blown build-out. I'm thinking there might be some more room there, right? You need to always look at every single job and say, what's the fair market value for this job? What's the sweet spot? What's the place that it feels good for them, feels good for us? Because 3,500 might be your day rate, but 4,500 or 5,500 might be the sweet spot, might be the fair market value for that project. Or it's just it's intrinsic value. If somebody's getting ready to open up a large restaurant, it's an investment for them to open this up, right? And that investment shouldn't be made off of your back. It should be off of what they offer to the marketplace. Let me say that again. Somebody should not be making money off of your labor in electrical or whatever you're doing for their business. They should be investing that money in order to make it off of what they offer to the marketplace. Does that make sense? So don't let someone else get rich off of your back in that sense. Now, when I say that, don't take it the wrong way, because a lot of people say, oh, I'm getting so-and-so rich. Or have you ever heard an employee say, I'm making my boss rich? Let me explain something to you. You have never made anyone rich. Your employees are not making you rich, and you're not making your boss rich. I've heard a lot of guys say, I'm tired of making other people rich. I promise you, you've never made anybody rich as an employee, ever in your entire life. They do well to cover your wage, the wage of your helper, the gas on your van, and make a little bit of money. But what I did mean by that statement is that nobody, if you are selling your work, if you're selling and not pricing your work correctly, you are letting other people make money off of you instead of you offering a fair market price for your work, you making money off of it, and then them taking that investment and making money in the marketplace. And I hope that makes sense today, as that sinks in, that you have got to be pricing your jobs correctly. Stop underselling your jobs. Stop underselling yourself. And if you're one of those people who charges too much, you may not be worth that much, right? Stop overselling yourself. It's a balance, and it's a day-to-day, piece-by-piece, job-by-job balance. But for the majority of you guys, you're probably underselling yourself terribly. And it's costing you, it's costing the marketplace, it's costing everyone. So one big takeaway that I want from this series is that make sure you're just doing an accurate job. You're not going to get rich off one job. I'm not going to get rich off one job. But you do want to make sure that you are pricing these jobs correctly to keep the market healthy, to keep you healthy, to keep everyone healthy, and to make sure that you're getting, and like I've said this whole video series, that you're charging a premium price, but you're delivering a super premium product. Before we got started with this video series, I asked 3 questions. Do you want to be the cheapest or the best? You want to play checkers or chess? And are you going to choose pride or position? I am the electrical code coach, and my bargain is that these videos have added value to you, and you will in turn go out and add value to others. We've covered this estimating masterclass. We've done a little bit of 6th grade math, but we've covered a whole lot of mindset. It's the mindset that's going to take you to the next level. It's the mindset that's going to radically change how you think about your interaction with not only the market that you're in, but with your family and all of your relationships. I want you to strive to be the best. Go out and get it. Not best at the detriment to others, but best at the benefit of others. I want you to stop playing checkers and start playing chess. Checkers is that king me mentality that you got to win in every conversation. You got to win in every situation, and you have to win right then. That's not how chess is. Chess is very methodical, very planned. I want you to think about your relationships, your communications, your estimates, your business as a whole as a giant chess game, one move at a time. Everything I've ever built that has been successful or that we've been able to sell or whatever has always been very slowly. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. I want you to start playing chess. And I want you to choose Position over pride. Pride says, I'm this, I'm that, I'm going to do this. You watch out for me, here I come. Position says, I'm going to place myself as an asset in this community, wherever that is for you. And I'm going to help as many electricians as I can, or whatever industry you're in. I'm going to help them, push them, guide them, lead them, be there as a code resource, be there as a friend, a help. If your tire's flat, call me. Whatever that looks like, in order to position myself as a fixture in that community of someone who cares, someone who loves, someone who wants to strive, someone who wants us all to win. And you'll find that if you'll live with that mindset, if you'll live with that attitude, it has very little to do with the crunching of numbers and everything to do with your position in the industry. And people will beat down your door. Electricians will give overflow work away to you, and you will become that person that you know that you can be. Now, I don't know what that looks like for you. It's different for everybody else, but I want you to pick up as many pieces of this as you can. And that way you can just start living that abundance mindset life. It's funny, you know, a lot of us have grown up where every decision was made where you are trying to decrease the margin of failure. But a subtle shift says, instead of worrying about the margin of failure, I'm teaching and going to teach my kids to think about the level of success, where it's not margins of failure anymore, but just levels of success. And I think it has nothing to do with what you've got in the bank. It has nothing to do with the way maybe it even looks in front of you, but it's all about mindset. That, listen, we can all do it, and we can all win. Let's do it together. So I say let's yoke up right now. If there's anything that I can do to help you, you can shoot me a text at 423-895-3247. I literally just want to see you win. You're never a bother. I can't always get right back, so just leave a text, leave a voicemail, leave a call. Don't be afraid to leave 2 or 3. I get back as quick as I can. I am the electrical code coach, and I just want to see you win. I want you to take that mindset and carry it out to somebody else. Look at somebody under you, look at somebody around you, look at an apprentice, look at somebody out on your job, look at your wife, look to your kids, of course, first. And I want you to reach around them and be there for them and help them grow up and help them go to the next level. Look down from where look down behind you to where you were at and help somebody rise up to where you are. And then you'll start to find that doors will be open for you that weren't there before. There'll be new people in your life that weren't there before that are turning around and looking at you and grabbing you and bringing you up where they are. If there's anything you need from me, you know how to get a hold of me. Let's get to it.